Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock, and welcome to the forum on EIA and SIA in the post-MCO era. This is ERE's second forum. We had one on Tuesday, and that forum was about community-based natural resources management. So this is the second one on EIA and SIA. And we have a series of forums coming up next week and the week after. You are welcome to join those forums. So this morning, we had about 100 odd participants registered. I'm sure they'll be joining us soon, but we can't wait. So what we have today is we have 3 speakers who will share their experience with you. But before we go to the 3, let me just give you an overview of what we are going to talk today. I once again request you to keep your microphones off all the time. If you have any questions or query or technical problems, please use the chat function. My colleague Zulhisham is on standby to answer any of your queries. I see many familiar faces, but I also see faces that I don't recognize. But anyway, welcome to the forum anyway. To start off, let me just share with you some of my why we pick this topic. Actually, this topic is important because we feel and we know that this current COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the MCO, as well as the post-MCO restrictions, will affect the way we do work. So in this context, we are looking at how EIA and SIA, which are crucial part of project approvals, can be done so that we don't disrupt the economic progress. We have 3 resource persons today who will share their views. I'll introduce them later. Sorry, once again, please mute your microphone so that we don't disturb others. Now, ladies and gentlemen, post-COVID era or post-MCO era, see, if the government lifts the restriction on 28th of April, as they say, if the phase 3 of MCO is not extended, let's say things get back to pretty normal after 20th April, there will still be restrictions on large gathering because the virus will not disappear. It will still be there. Even after 28th of April, until for many months to come, there will be restrictions on large gathering and large events, which means this will automatically has an impact on the way we do things. There will be restrictions on travel. If those of you are planning for a holiday after 28th April, I think best to forget about it. There will be many types of restrictions on travel. Even within the country, there will be restrictions. And this will, again, affect the way we work. My third point is, even if the government does not impose restrictions, people themselves may not want to meet or travel. Many people are worried. Many people are concerned about their own health. So even though government might not put restrictions, people themselves will not want to meet or will not want to travel. So this again poses many challenges. Number 4, we also anticipate that some projects may be halted due to lack of demand or financial difficulties. As you are aware, consumer demand for many products and services have dropped significantly, and this may lead to projects being cancelled or halted or suspended. Number 5, in the post-MCO era, we also think that budgets for many components of projects may be changed or reallocated. And even at the national level, we also think the government will prioritize. That means budgets from one sector will be moved to the other sector and so on in order to combat the economic problems that we will face eventually. Unemployment is on the rise, And I think even this sector is not an exception. So we will also see unemployment in this sector. Social problems and environmental damage will increase in the country due to the economic downturn. Social problems, as you are probably aware, there has already been an increase in unemployment. There's already been loss of jobs. There have already been many cases of businesses shutting down. And all these have eventually consequences on the environment as well. When states do not have adequate revenue, they'll turn to natural resources. We foresee things like illegal hunting, illegal logging, a lot of illegal stuff increase because people have lost their livelihoods. Exploitation of natural resources will increase, and it has demonstrated in many parts of the world whenever there is an economic downturn, most people will look at natural resources to exploit. Logging, mining, and these sort of activities will be the first to expand because they are the quickest gains. I don't want to spoil your mood this morning, but I want to share this story about social problems. You know, a lot of people have lost their jobs, right? And we think this problem will escalate. For me, something personal hit me just 2 days ago. A friend who runs a logistic business, on Wednesday night, he committed suicide because of the MCO. His business has failed. He couldn't pay his suppliers and his workers, and he chose to kill himself. And that is very close to home. And we expect to see a lot more social problems in the coming months. So all this have implication on the way we do things, on the way we work. But life must go on. Malaysia's economic wheel must continue to turn so that we can avoid an economic. We're already having a health crisis. We do not want an economic disaster to follow through. I believe the National Economic Action Council is now cracking their head how to kickstart the Malaysian economy after the MCO is lifted. Projects must move on. People must have jobs. Livelihoods must be protected. And therefore, when we consider this, we need to start looking at the ways how we do EIA and SIA and other environmental and social endeavours. Because without EIAs and SIAs, project cannot move. And if projects don't move, our economy doesn't move. And when our economy doesn't move, people's livelihoods are affected. So we need new tools, we might need new procedures, we might need new way of thinking. How we can continue doing this? How can we continue doing EIAs and SIAs to make sure that the national economy continues to grow, right? And that is the reason why we convene this forum, to get people to share ideas and to come up with solutions. How all of us who are in this field, all of us are stakeholders, how can we all contribute towards making the nation's economy to turn again, right? So for this morning, I like everyone, maybe put on your thinking hats while you listen to the speakers speak later on. What are the key factors in the post-MCO era that will change the EIA and SIA landscape in Malaysia? What are the things that will change? Many things will change. How will public participation, when you do EIA and SIA and many other work, public participation is crucial. We always do FGDs, we always do surveys, we have town hall meeting, we have engagement with local communities. These are fundamental activities. How will this be carried out? Because even if you want to carry out, people might not want to meet you, right? So will the projects be stopped because we can't do this? Or are there other methods? My third point is, how will the EIA SIA process, review process be? You know, we are used to large meetings. Whenever a report is being reviewed by the authorities, there are often large meetings, sometimes 50, 60 people in a meeting room looking at reports. Will we still be doing this? Will it still be possible? Or even the review process has to be revised? If this has to be revised, what procedures or processes should be changed? Right? And if the processes and procedures are changed, what sort of safeguards must we put in place? So there are actually many questions about, and I think we hope that this morning, that with the speakers as well as all of you, we can try to answer some of these questions. Because, like I said, the nation's economy is important. We all agree health is important. But once the MCO is over, we need to put our focus on reviving the country's economic health. And EIAs and SIAs are crucial components in this process. With that, I will stop sharing my screen now. Right. With that, I'm going to invite the first speaker to share her views on this topic. The first speaker is Raja Nurashikin Raja Zainal, who's a director at ERE Consulting Group. And Raja Nurashikin has, I think, close to 30 years of experience in this field, working on environmental and social projects her entire career. So today, Shikin will share with us her thoughts on how the post-MCO era is going to be and what we can do to make sure EIAs and SIAs and all the other endeavours can continue to ensure our economic growth. So with that, I'm going to invite Shikin now. Shikin, floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Bala. Good morning. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, let me try to share my presentation slides first. Of course, this is my first time doing it, so please bear with me. Sekejap. Can everybody see my slides now?
Yes, Shikin, we can.
Okay, alright. Sekali lagi, tuan-tuan dan perempuan, welcome to ERE Forum number 2. Selamat pagi. Saya harap semuanya sihat, selamat dan selesa di rumah masing-masing ya. For me, this is the first time because as a presenter, I cannot see your faces. Maybe you can see my face. What is in front of me is actually my slides only. Yeah. So it's kind of weird. Tetapi sekali lagi, terima kasih ya kerana bersama-sama kami pagi ni. So kalau selalunya presenter, sit back, okay, and I hope that all of you, okay, boleh melapangkan masa, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes. That's basically the time that has been given to me by Dr. Bala. And my presentation is actually very short. There's only about 12 slides here because our hope today is actually to get more feedback from all of you. Yeah. So moving on to the next slide, just nak bagi gambaran, gambaran in terms of what will I be presenting this morning, okay? It is actually being divided by to 3 parts, okay? Because this is my first time of doing it, and I have actually also listened to some of the webinar and all that. So I hope with this it will provide all of us in terms of how the intention of my slides for this morning. It's being divided into 3 parts here. Pertama sekali seperti yang semana Dr. Bala mentioned how we do our EIA will likely need to be changed due to the MCO ataupun post-MCO. So we are so used to our current practices. So what I will be doing is actually sharing the ERE, okay, how we have been doing, how we conduct our EIA. So we are sharing a little bit of information how we are doing it internally at ERE. Yes. Second part is that the post-MCO. It will result in significant change in terms of how we are so used to doing things all this while. So it is actually quite difficult because all of us are actually creature of habits. Yeah, we are so used to SOP and we have been following this diligently. So with the post MCO, we need to change. So this is actually will pose a great challenge, yeah, to how we have been doing things. But rather than looking at it like in a negative way, but I think people always say, where there is bad, there's also going to be good things that comes out from it. So we feel there are opportunities, okay, and we are more than willing to share with you what are the recommendations or the options that we have thought of, okay, in order, okay, in terms of to overcome some of these challenges. But I think this is the part that we would like your feedback, yeah, in terms of your contribution. How can we do it differently? What should we do differently? Yeah. So this is the part that I need all of you, okay, to contribute later on. So just to recap, okay, these are the three parts of my presentation this morning. So when people talk about EIA, okay, most people, they would think, okay, EIA consultant, most of you will be spending your time in the office. But this is just, if you look at this particular slides here, 60% of our time are actually spent outside of the office to prepare the EIA. So if you can see on your left side, yeah, work outside office, and on the right side, work in the office. Yeah. So if you look at this first slide, we spend a lot of time, okay, in terms of engagements with the various technical agencies, with DOE as well, seeking their advice, so which is why we do quite a lot of consultation. And of course, site visit and sampling. This is basically where we really need to go out, yeah, of the office. So in the office, it's the typical where you run your model, where you have your discussion, where you decide in terms of what sort of tools we are going to use for our analysis. So again, this is basically how DOE does it, yeah? How ERE does it, sorry, DOE. How ERE, basically when we have been appointed by our client, this is basically how we conduct our EIA. So moving on to the next slides, okay? So looking back, okay, what are the work that we do outside of the office? The 60% of our time that I have actually shared earlier, yeah? So when you look at, when we do EIA, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. It's like what Dr. Bala mentioned just now, yeah? Of course, over the 30 years period, a lot of things have changed. But my philosophy has always been that, okay, going to the site, okay, is very, very important component of EIA. Not just one time, sometimes you need to go to the site a few times because then you will be able to detect or at least see what, because things change at the site as well. So site visit with our internal team as well as with the client. Sampling, of course, we get the lab, okay, or our other subcontractors. Stakeholder engagements, this is very important, going to the site, okay, if you see the pachi-machi, just to get some information about the site as well. Consultations with DOE, this is very important. Consultation with technical agencies and the local authorities, because for the past few years, just to share, maybe, okay, because for the past few years, the type of EIA that I have been involved in, a lot of it is actually rail or transport related project, and most of it are actually scheduled to EIA. There's a lot of consultations that are required, yeah, when we consult the technical agencies, not only to get data from them, okay? To get data is one of it, but most importantly is to get their concerns, what are the issues on the ground, because sometimes like public PBTs here, they will know more in terms of what is happening on the ground. So of course, project meetings. So the other part, which is the EIA review process and liaison with DOE. So this is where we will have to follow strictly in terms of DOE review and approval process for DOE, which involve, if it's Schedule 2, it will involve public display. You will have meetings, whether it's for TOR or for the EIA TRC meeting. Yeah. So these are the two main types of activities that is actually being carried out outside of office. But this is very, very important, because if you don't get all this information, the 40% part, okay, it's very difficult for you to do a good job in terms of what are your assumptions or your basis to do your analysis. So to us, this 60% of work, okay, all these engagements play a very crucial role for our work. So moving on to the next slide. This is just to give a little bit more detail, yeah, based on what I've mentioned earlier. Okay, when we say about site visit, we have to do recce survey, okay? Because sometimes depending on the site or the project, yeah. For example, we did the ECRL phase 1 and phase 2 as well. It's a 600-kilometer line, okay? So it is very important that we understand our site, okay, and we are very sure in terms of our limits of our study area or where the line is cutting through. Similarly, even for urban area, it is actually very important for us to go to the site and look what is on the ground, so that we can identify what are the issues and what are the sensitive receptors, yeah, and hence what are the impacts. Also to identify the location of the sampling points. These are why we need to go to the site. But of course, depending on, for example, if it's ECRL ke, it's more of a urban area. It's more of a rural area. Tetapi kalau macam MRT atau LRT, these are the urban area. So these are different site conditions, yeah, where it is very important for us to really understand the site. Like what I've been sharing with all my colleagues, okay, but kalau kita buat EIA ni, kita mesti ada apa kata feel of the project. That is very, very important. That's basically how I approach in terms of when we do the EIA lah, yeah. So kalau kita tengok ya, site visit ni, there's a lot of interaction depending on the size of the project. When you go to the site, okay, you go to with the client, you go with your sub-consultants, or when you go to DOE, it requires interaction with people. We go in a group, yeah. Then the second part, if you look at the slide, the second column, the stakeholder engagements. Okay, these are some of the the type of stakeholder engagements that we carried out. FGD, perception survey, even some of the interviews. Yeah, so this is where the real challenge begins. But I am not going to talk so much about this because I'm assuming that Dr. Kuppu will be spending a lot more time. But just to share, when you do a perception survey, yeah, it is actually a big challenge for our enumerator to go to the site, yeah. And furthermore, with this COVID, yeah, and post-MCO, it is going to be even more challenging. So when we do FGDs, okay, or town hall meeting, so it is actually a large number of people will need to get together. So this is basically what is required, yeah, in terms of our interaction with the community or with the other stakeholders. Consultation with authorities, this has become very, very important in the last few years, yeah, for our EIA, whereby we need to meet up with a lot of other technical agencies such as JPS, yeah, Plan Malaysia, even for EIA, DID, yeah, JKR sometimes, and of course the PBTs. So this requires in terms of to meet with them, yeah, and when we meet with them, depending, yeah, whether it is at the district level or the state level, the size of the group also may varies. For example, if we are doing for a bigger project, yeah, in one of our project, okay, because it cuts through 4 states, yeah. So when it comes to this type of project, okay, sometimes we would get, okay, assistance from the headquarters. For example, in one of our project, we get Jabatan Mineral and Geoscience, yeah, in terms of at the headquarters, okay, to assemble all the state JMG. So the state directors will come, and this will basically result in a bigger group. But the good thing is that when you do conduct such big meeting, it's easier in terms of to get some sort of decision. So these are some of the ways that we have been doing in terms of our engagement or consultation with authorities. Of course, the project meetings as well. And I saw there are quite a number of consultants in the list of participants. Had good morning, Gita. Yeah. So these project meetings also sometimes it involves a large gathering of people. Yeah. The client, the engineers, the planners, the architects. Yeah. So what we have been doing all this while is that a lot of engagements with different groups of people. Okay, this slide, what I'm trying to do on this particular slide is actually just focusing on the DOE punya review and approval process for the EIA report. For us, okay, maybe because of the nature of projects, yeah, for the last few years, we do carry out a lot of consultations with DOE, whether it is at the headquarter level or at the state level, yeah. So this is basically and some of the discussion to seek advice, to seek guidance from them. And this is very important so that, okay, our EIA report fulfills its objectives. And with this sometimes, okay, the number of group of people also, it involves quite a large number of group depending. So the technical review meeting, I think even the project proponent and the consultant are very aware that we have that TOR meeting. The various technical agencies will need to be there, the consultant, the project proponent, yeah. And then the big meeting, okay, the big meeting, the EIA TRC meeting. In one of our last project, okay, even for the TOR, okay, there were 50, orang kata 50 participants atau di mana semua pihak PBT telah dijemput dan juga technical agency yang lain dan juga badan-badan berkanun yang lain. So it can get very very big in terms of the number of people that is attending. So this is kita tengok in terms of kalau post-MCO, it will not be easy, okay, for us to have such large gathering anymore. Okay, with that, okay, we go to the post-MCO. I know Dr. Bala just now shared, I think quite sad lah, yeah, in terms of what has happened to his close friends. But I think since this is the fourth, nak masuk the fifth week of MCO, yeah, I think for the first 2 weeks, a lot of people are kind of excited. But when the third, fourth, fifth, then it makes us think, yeah, okay, we look at our business, okay, look at the activities, then we realize, okay, even the first 2 weeks, okay, to change into this work from home is actually quite difficult for some people. So now focusing on this post-MCO, how this will have a significant impact to how we have been doing our work, okay? Like what I mentioned earlier, yeah, 60% of our time requires engagement, yeah, with different types of groups, yeah. So if you can see interaction with many people, post MCO, we need to crack our head, okay, in terms of how can we still, okay, continue doing our EIA, but we need to think of a new way in terms of how we can do it. Maybe it will result in terms of us doing it in a much better way. We do not know, yeah. So this is where, like what I mentioned earlier, yeah, di mana kita kena tengok in terms of what are the options, what are the ways that we can look at. And I'm quite sure the last 3 to 4 weeks, there's a lot of this virtual meeting and all that. So slowly, without realizing it, yes, we know we have to change. And I think we need to look at it in a positive manner lah, yeah. So going back, okay, in terms of to us, we look back in terms of how we do our EIA. So the component of data collection, okay, this is where it involves a lot of meeting. In this first slide, okay, or you need to be with a group of people. Site visits here. This is, we need to limit the number of participants, yeah. And with the MCO, maybe there are restriction in terms of travels. So to us, we may think in terms of the need to appoint a local lab, because there could be restrictions, yeah, in terms of movement of lab going from one state to another, in terms of the enumerators, especially for when we conduct our perception survey. But more importantly is the challenge, because people's perception, okay, people are getting more aware, okay, and in terms of security and health, they are, apa orang kata, okay, sekarang kita tengok orang pun kita, okay, automatically, okay, we keep that social distance, yeah. So this is going to be a real challenge, okay, when we go to the site or when we want to engage with the community. Bukan sahaja community, kalau kita nak adakan meeting juga, okay, I think it's going to be a challenge as well, yeah. So when you go to the site and when you want to do your surveys, yeah, access to the site, okay, may be limited. The kampung or the certain community, they will be more worried, okay, or cautious, okay, whoever that is coming into their neighborhood. So these are one of the key challenges. I'm not going to talk about cost because I think this is not the right time to talk about money, but it will have an impact to our work. So what okay, these are just some of the just initial recommendations here. I think with this, yeah, it will require a lot more of like documentation. We need to get permission, yeah. So it may require a lot more documentation paperwork lah. And it is very important in terms of informing the locals ahead. No more, that means less impromptu or spontaneous, yeah. Because people are more reluctant, yeah, in terms of meeting other parties lah, or other people. Another thing that we see as maybe an opportunity is that whether we are doing site surveys or in terms of our sampling, yeah, is this is actually gives us an opportunity to explore in terms of using technology, because there are a lot of tools there that we can use. Of course, I think if we're talking about drone, yeah, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, not many people, okay, actually are really exposed to drone. Now you can see in terms of how, yeah, in terms of drones, it can be used for a lot of purposes. So this is an area that we need to look at. But using drones also will basically, if some of you are familiar, it requires a lot of permission, a lot of approvals as well before you can actually fly the drone. So that is looking at, some of the options, some of the challenges and opportunities or recommendations, yeah, that we could think of at this moment in time when we do our site visit, survey, and so this slide, okay, this is focusing on the stakeholder engagements, like what all of us are used to, right? We like to meet people, okay. I do not know, for me, I like to meet people, okay. Talking here alone, looking at the laptop, at the screen, is actually quite difficult for me, yeah. I would like to see all your faces there, okay. But technology, okay, the current technology does not allow it, yeah. But I think what we have been doing right now, okay, is meeting people. But now we have to limit it to smaller groups of people. And over the last 3-4 weeks, I think all of us, whether it's the government department or the private, okay, agency, private companies, okay, virtual meetings, whether you use Zoom, Webex, Google Meet, yeah, there are a lot of other tools or softwares. Yeah? So I think now people are getting used to it, or Skype for that matter. So these are some of the very clear options lah, yeah. But the challenges, okay, yes, okay, there are tools, okay, there are software, yeah. But in order for you to have virtual meetings also, because our work not only involve our meeting with DOE, but other technical agencies. It could be PBT, it could be a small PBT, other technical agencies. Yeah, our concern, the challenges is actually the low technology adoption rate. Yeah, I'm not saying, because I know that a lot of government agencies are using Skype, but when we look at state level, at district level, this may be a bit could pose as a challenge, yeah, for us to overcome. When you have meeting as well, okay, your mind starts to wander off, okay, if the meeting is too long as well, because you're sitting at home, or yeah, you see a lot of other things. So in terms of reduced concentration, maybe some of you right now, yeah, it's very difficult to focus as well. And also in terms of how do we control participants' feedback. But I think over time, we would be able to overcome these challenges. And for this, training is very, very important, to improve our skills, both in terms of technology. For me, this is the first time I'm doing this presentation on Google Meet, yeah, and the communication skills, yeah.
Shikin, I
So
think you need to speed up a bit.
yes, this is going to be, I just have one more slide, okay? So in terms of all our meeting must be well planned, okay? So in terms of the EIA review and process, some of the options that we are looking at, soft copy, and I think a lot of people may be happy, okay? You don't have to carry all those bulky reports. Virtual meeting, maybe for some of the meetings, yeah? Online feedback. So these are some of the options that we could think of. Challenges, okay, it's always about the IT, the technology, yeah, that will, we need to be ready, yeah, so that we can actually move to the next level, yeah. Opportunities, recommendations, I think this is, some of these actually recommendations is setengah-setengah jabatan dah pun juga memudahkannya lah, maknanya mendapatkan written comment via email and all that. But I think all agencies have to, apa orang kata, bergerak bersama lah, ya, and we have to have that particular mechanism lah, ya, to move to this new norm or the new kind of work procedure. So the key takeaways, the kepala, okay, all of us, whether we like it, okay, we need to change. Yeah, we have to change. Okay, we have to change. Okay, I would like to see it as change for the better. Yeah, not change is not necessarily bad. Yeah, and there is this saying, a new normal. Yeah. When we talk about new normal, okay, to me is that it's not all new. Yeah, it's actually opportunity for us to work together to decide on what is the new normal. Yeah, we may decide to still keep some of the current normal. Yeah, so this is something for us to think. Yeah, together. Virtual work, I think slowly people will get used to it. Working from home, okay, I think that would be maybe 2-3 years ago, we think that, okay, it's very difficult, it cannot be done. But most importantly, I think is that the infrastructure, the mechanism, and I think the skills will be required to support this new normal. Yeah. And my last slide, I do not know who this Christine Armstrong is. I know we are in difficult time, okay? Time of transition are always strenuous. But to me, yeah, to this person, okay, she loves them. They are an opportunity to purge, rethink priorities, and be intentional about our new habit. We can make our new normal any way we want. So I think to end it, this is actually opportunities for us to improve, yeah, and to change for the better. With that, thank you. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Shikin. You talked about many things, from the challenges of doing field work to stakeholder engagement to the potential challenges in the EIA and SIA review processes. Of all these things, and you also suggested a few things, but of all your suggestions, what is the single most important suggestion?
To me, looking at it, I think the training, the skill.
The skills in technology or skills in
technology, yeah. Because like what I've mentioned, I'm so used to meeting people. I'm like a people person. I like to see people's face and all that, yeah.
Okay.
And I think even like when we go and meet the agencies or whatsoever, yeah, for data collection, for discussion, the biggest challenge is that when you don't get to see that people, okay, that person, is actually quite difficult maybe at this moment in time to have a meaningful discussion or find a way forward. So I think this is something that each one of us, okay, need to consciously change and adapt.
Okay.
And learning new skills.
Sure. I like to open this to questions, or maybe just 2 or 3 questions. Maybe I'll open this to first people, if there are participants from DOE or EPD or NREB. If you would like to ask a question, maybe Ellen or Susan. Or from Okay, let me see. There is a question from Girish. Okay, Girish, do you want to switch on your microphone and ask the question?
Yes, good morning, everybody. This is Girish from 27 Group. I think there's quite a bit of similarities in when we are conducting our studies as well. We do a lot of economic studies where we need to meet a lot of people in focus groups and workshops. So one of the things we are sort of moving very quickly into is mini online surveys, which are sort of like focus groups, but it's done online, and it's done real time. That means you log in and you participate and you get quick feedback. I'm not sure if that could help. The other one, which could be a little bit more challenging, is to use virtual reality, augmented reality in the mix. This essentially simulates a workshop where you can actually see people in a different light and you can communicate better. It's very expensive, of course, and you need very strong broadband. So just throwing that out there and see whether that could be answered by yourselves.
Okay, thank you, Girish. Shikan, you want to give it a go? Girish's question.
I'll try and give it a go. Yes, I think I agree with you. Hello, Girish. I agree with you. There are a lot of tools, yeah, a lot of options available, and there are technology to support this. We are, I think, slowly looking at online survey, yeah, virtual reality, augmented reality. These are all very new. But I think like what I mentioned earlier, this session is actually, I think I appreciate in terms of, you know, the other tools that you have shared with us. This is something that we can try and have a look at it and see how. But we are moving towards online. But it's just that with certain communities is actually quite difficult. Yeah. So time for us to be creative. Thanks,
Okay.
Girish.
Girish, there's a question from Quack from Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources. Quack, you want to ask?
Thank you, Dr. Wala. Yeah, my question is basically from your presentation earlier, Shikin. Thank you so much. It was very insightful. You were saying that you cannot get the full information, and my concern is that if there's no full information, there cannot be, I guess, a complete picture of what's going to happen, and then will that result in a reduction of this standards or the quality of the EIA in light of the MCO? Thank you.
Quality of our EIA, what needs to be addressed in the EIA still remains the same. It's actually now for us, yeah, in terms of ways of getting that information, yeah. This is the part that we need to look at, yeah. Now it may require more time, but I think in terms of the quality of report, if you ask DOE is here as well, yeah, that has to be maintained, yeah. And I don't think there is any two way about it. We still need to do what we have to do, but it's just that we need to crack our head in terms of how, yeah, can we do it now in view of this MC.
Yeah, maybe I can add a bit. I think the biggest challenge is activities they have to do with human interaction. I think if you're talking about field work, measuring water quality and stuff like that, shouldn't be a problem. But anything involving human interaction will become a bit more challenging now, especially when you have to engage with large groups of people. I think that's where our challenge is. How can technology help us to do this better without having to bring 100 people together in a single room? Online surveys are useful, but you will still have problem with statistical representativeness. Your virtual reality stuff is good. You'll have to deal with additional costs. So there are options available, but again, this needs to be balanced with time, cost, and accuracy. Maybe somebody from DOE or EPD, Ellen or Susan or Rohima. Okay, if they are...
Okay. Okay, good morning everybody. Assalamualaikum. Actually, DOE just discussed yesterday with our Director General all this on the post-MCO. So we are developing some sort of try to look at our procedure at the same time. To ensure that the quality of the EIA report is still the same, even you still can do the survey without having a large group, but you can still do the survey that to meet our requirement. That's other things lah. We already, I think, this thing already discussed with our DG, so we trying to put it in black and white, so everybody can follow that one. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Halimah. For Halimah, one more question. Any thoughts about the macam mana the EIA review process will be? Will there be changes, you think?
The changes is only when Raja Ashiki mentioned about a large group during the meeting. So that one actually we already put that question to our DG. Our DG also mentioned that we have to reduce the number. The number means there will be limitation of the consultant to be inside the meeting rooms and even the agency itself.
Okay.
So others, if they want to participate, we have to use online.
Okay.
That will be the method. But at the same time, you still have to submit the hard copy of the EIA report. That's one because for our records, but the hard copy can be submitted through post laju or whatsoever. It's still there. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Halimah. So I think we will thank you everyone. So we'll move to the next speaker. The next speaker is Dr. Kuppu from Faculty of Economics, University of Malaya. Dr. Kuppu is, of course, his forte is social impact assessment, and he frequently sits in the SIA review panel and is quite very well versed with SIA requirements. So we have invited Dr. Kuppu to share his thoughts with us about social impact assessment in the post-MCO era. Dr. Kuppu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Bala. Let me try to share my screen. Still not showing again, sorry.
Dr. Kuppu, are you there? Okay, while waiting for Dr. Kuppu to come back, I think he has difficulty with his screen. Dato' Halimah, do you want to go first? Dato' Halimah?
Hello, yes, yes, Dr. Bala.
So why don't you go first while waiting for Dr. Kuppu to come back on board?
Okay, yes, Dr. Bala, thank you very much. Dr. Bala, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Shikin. Thank you for the opportunity for me to be part of this forum.
Just one moment before I forgot to introduce you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think everybody knows Dato' Halimah. Dato' Halimah Hassan was the former Director General of Department of Environment Malaysia. She just retired just a few years ago. Of course, obviously very, very well versed in EIA. She was the head of the EIA division before she became the DG. So Dato Halimah is the right person to talk to us about this. Dato Halimah, please carry on.
Thank you, Dr. Bala. Thank you. I wish to share my perspective as an ex-DOE official and also as a member of the public. And now Dr. Bala says I'm already retired and I speak for myself. Undertaking EIAs post-MCO or post-COVID-19. The pandemic actually really caught a lot of us off guard. There is a new norm now. Things will never be the same. Some experts say we got to wait until 2022, even that if there is a vaccine in the near future. But whatever it is, business as usual is not an option anymore. And it's business unusual. We've got to accept doing things differently. Shikin has already also introduced some of the things that can be done. Well, let me just say a little bit about the EIA and EQA very briefly. EIA is actually a legal instrument under the Environmental Quality Act. And it is actually for the prevention, abatement, control of pollution, and the enhancement of the environment. Looking at it, it is not just the environment per se, because it is closely related, connected with public health and safety. And the study does takes into consideration socio-economic impacts and also health impacts. We've got to appreciate, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to appreciate that EIA is a tick in the box. There's a lot of comment about EIA, people are not adhering, and it is just a paper exercise. It's actually not. To project planning. This is project planning. We're not even talking about strategic planning. It's planning, it's a project planning tool, and for an informed decision making on the project. So this is very important. There are procedures and processes already in place, and Rohima just mentioned about new procedures that may come after the MCO. Post-MCO is very crucial, very important, and what need to be changed, the process, the procedures. But bottom line is that objectives of the EIA has to be met, the quality has to be maintained, if not improved. It is a challenge, a huge challenge, but it is not impossible. And as I said, business as usual is no longer an option. Now, if I can break just the process, the EIA process into three main parts. One, the study itself. The study itself, we heard from Shikin, you need to follow the guidelines. It has to be scientific. It has to be within the acceptable methodology. It has to survey, interview. But the study phase itself is mainly between the project proponent, the consultants, and the clients and the consultants mainly, and some government agencies. Now, it has to go on, but safeguards got to be in place. Safeguards during the field works, during the meetings, yeah. Safeguard, especially social distancing, you got your mask, you got your sanitizers and all that. Those are important. The second main component, which is very important, as what Dr. Bala also has mentioned, is the public participation and engagement. This is very crucial. They have got to be engagement, there have got to be communication and interaction, but things have to be done differently. Otherwise, you just look at everybody and thought everybody is positive or everybody is a carrier, you just get paranoid, especially just after the MCO has been lifted. You got to do focus group discussion, affected parties got to be interviewed, stakeholders, dialogues. It's very challenging, but how best this can be done whilst meeting the objectives of the EIA, getting, during surveys and dialogues or survey especially, you have got to do it right. There is methodology, there is sampling requirements that is acceptable. So how can you do this? How can we do this? Getting the true sensitivity or opinion of the project, and having a acceptable sampling size. What are the concerns? Giving them the opportunity to voice. Now this is very important, and a lot of ways can be done. Of course, bearing in mind the safeguards. The most important thing that is the in thing now is the 3 C's. The 3 C's: no confined spaces, no crowded places, no close contact. So how can you do it? How can you do the engagement, which is very important, the communication part. You have to do the dialogues, the FDGs. Okay, that is the second important part, the public participation, the stakeholders engagement. The third part is the review process and the decision on the report, approved or not, approved or otherwise, meetings, yeah, reaching the decision maker, not just DOE decision on the report, also reaching the decision maker, reaching the other technical agencies, other government agencies, and also all that has a say in the project. So this, we can see now, it can be done, easily be done through video meetings, internet, like what we do now. But what is important here is speed, the cooperation of all the technical agencies. Even last time when we send reports for comments from technical agencies, some don't come back fast because they have their own priorities. So this got to be done in an efficient way, cooperation from all technical agencies and all persons that need to give input or comments on the report. Now, what is important here in this, the third phase, the review phase and the decision-making phase, is speed, less red tape, facilitate from the Department of Environment, from all technical agencies, because in bad times like this, when we have, when the MCO has been lifted, everybody will be scrambling, and we need to spur the economic development without compromising on public health and safety, without compromising on the quality of the report. But things have got to be done fast. It's got to help and to facilitate. We don't want to make things worse. We have to contribute to the economy. The decision, yes or no, has got to be fast. Well, that's the 3 parts. So in short, our way forward or the path to new norms, my view, of course, one is to enhance using technology. Shikin has mentioned about drones. I know we can explore AI, artificial intelligence, and of course the internet. Yeah, we have to, got no choice but to use this even for public displays, for public comments, for feedback via email, for e-meetings, e-conferences, online feedback. To some extent, public participation and engagement can also be done through the technology and internet. Number 2, for a norm, these surveys and stakeholders engagement, focus group discussions is very important. We cannot do without it, but it has to be done in a different way. Definitely the 3 C's again has to be observed. It has to be done in small groups whilst maintaining social distancing. Some may have to do, some may have to go through the internet, but this is a challenge because sometimes the people that you want to meet or to communicate do not have internet. For example, the fishermen, the affected people, the villagers, yeah. So this is a challenge, but you have to do it in small groups, maintaining the 3 C's and having all the safeguards at all time. And the important part, as I mentioned, the review part just now, the interagency meeting, the review panel can be done through the internet, but what is important here is the communication between the project proponent, the consultant, DOE, government agencies, civil societies. Totally new approach, totally new form and I'm confident that things can be more efficient, can be faster, can reach a lot of people in a short time, and I think there will be less budget. All in all, ladies and gentlemen, how do we speed up things without compromising environmental degradation or public health and safety? Is the go or no-go projects or the screening, the first screening, got to be clear. Project proponents got to propose projects in line with national policies, in line with all the national policies, transport policies, agriculture policies, industrial policies, environmental policies. It's got to be in line, even in line with structure plans, local plans, land use planning. And the first cut of go and no-go got to be clear. Clear national policies, not to be, it has to be in tandem, in line, and no point wasting time on no-go projects or spending money, resources, because it's not clear. So that is some of my views, ladies and gentlemen. Things got to be fast. Things got to be, we've got to spur the economy in the right way for sustainability. Thank you very much, Dr. Bala.
Thank you, Dr. Halimah. That was very good overview. Before I open to questions, maybe I have a few questions myself. We talk about technology, and I think in the last 4 weeks, a lot of people have gotten used to video conferencing like this, right? What was the original business tool? Now even families, grandfather, grandmother, grandkids, everybody using video conferencing, which is good. But but since everybody using, one of the problems that we face is every organization is using a different platform. Today we are using Google Meet. Somebody yesterday asked us to meet on Zoom, and then the day before was on WebEx and Microsoft Teams. So this, and of course, everybody can't be buying different software and learning so many different things. Do you think it might make sense if there is an agreement that, okay, Malaysia, the government sector will agrees to use, for example, WebEx, or private sector agrees to use Zoom? Because if we don't have an agreement, then we might have difficulty if everybody using a different platform. That's one question.
Yeah, Dr. Bala, my view. We just beginning with this. It has been for a long time with us, the e-conference, but we've not really used to it. But since it's just beginning, and I'm sure we'll pull through it and we'll get it smooth. And you're right. But even there are a few. For me, changing from Zoom to this Chrome, it's not really much of a problem. But I guess things can get better in the near future.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Jamil, former JPPD.
Yes, Jamil. Good morning. What's the question?
Jamil, you want to ask, or shall I read your question? Maybe I'll read your question. Huh? His comment was, this is my 2 cents worth, that if we want to widen our outreach to the public in terms of IT or digital means, is to focus on basic structural transformation. Study Korea, for example. I think internet penetration in Korea is more than 80% and is heavily subsidized in the rural areas. That means if you want people to use this technology, that must be subsidized, and we need to invest heavily in our internet penetration, especially in the rural areas.
Yeah, totally agree with Mr. Jamil. Maybe we are a bit far behind compared to many other countries. Internet is not accessible. Even they want to do e-learning from in the schools from home. That's quite a problem where some of the kids, especially in the rural areas, are not accessible to internet. So we've really got to back up on this area. The internet, this technology will be accessible to most people, and the government, the ministry responsible got to look at it and assist the public, and this is the only way. I agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Halimah. We have a question from Dr. Alias from Plan Malaysia. Dr. Alias, you want to ask?
Yes. I don't see the question.
Dr. Alias, your microphone not on. Okay, anyway, let me just read his question. Dr. Alias' question was, my concern is on study methodology.
Yeah.
If we can relax or reduce with some data collection. I think his concern is some of this might compromise on the integrity of the methodology. So on.
My view, Dr. Alias, Dr. Bala, we cannot compromise on the quality of the EIA report and the protection of the environment, public health and safety. If whatever the methodology, if it is acceptable scientifically and technically correct, then it can. If it can be simplified or acceptable, why not? But if it is not acceptable, methodology is not scientific, then it defeats the purpose. You will make a decision on wrong information. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, correct. And are there any other questions? If they're not, Dato' Halimah, maybe just one more point. You mentioned about the speed of decision making.
Yes.
My understanding from the limited knowledge I have with what's happening at the National Economic Action Council now, I think the government is under great pressure to make sure the economy doesn't sink, because we are seeing so many businesses going bust, and therefore I believe the government is under a lot of pressure to make sure projects move on. All these are done quickly. As soon as the MCO is lifted, they want things to get back to normal. So do you think there will be obviously a lot of pressure on government agencies in terms of review? Furthermore, there'll be a lot of backlog of meetings because the last 2 months, no meetings, no approvals. So this again puts a lot of pressure on agencies, right? Because we are also dealing with the backlog of meetings. So how do you think this will turn out?
Thank you. I hope of course there are backlogs, but I hope there will not be pressured. But what is important, if things have got to be structured, well planned, and EIA consultants also got a lot of role to play. The EIA report has to be clear, concise, meeting the standards and decision or the advice or whatever the findings of the EIA must be made clear with scientific basis. Thank you. I hope all government agencies, and it's important, technical agencies, all government agencies got to be in tandem. And what is important is to have a well structured process and not to be pressured, but to do it fast. We have got to do it fast, I think. And the government officers, DOE, and other technical agencies have got to facilitate. That's the main way. Thank you.
Okay, Dato' Halimah, thank you very much. I'd like to call upon Dr. Kuppu now. Dr. Kuppu, your slides are ready now.
Yeah, Dr. Bala, thank you. Let's see. Hope it doesn't. You all can see my slides?
Yes. Yes.
Wow, finally. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Bala. Good morning to you, my fellow panel, Dato' Halimah and Dr. Nurashikin, and also all other friends who are meeting us virtually today. I'll try to, along this way, I'll try to cover Dr. Bala's second question. That is, how will public participation be carried out? And part of the third question, how will the review process be? I think my focus will be, if you look at the screen, is all about challenges in conducting community engagements, public participation, etc., etc. We are on it today, the whole topic, post-COVID-19, and I would like to focus also on for SIA studies. Yeah. We are very aware of what is this thing called, I think some of this have already been presented, a quick one. We must realize we have something called disruption to normal life. And we are going through this almost 1 month already, slightly more than 1 month. And not only here, we have the maritime affected, trades delayed, imminent job losses. Dr. Bala has mentioned, Shikin has already mentioned about travel restrictions. Beyond that, we also have conferences, etc., logistics affected, MCO, and economies are also affected worldwide. Yeah. So the question is, will life be back to normal? I personally feel it will not likely be in 3 to 6 months after MCO is lifted. Seriously, I don't have any reference to this, but it's a gut feeling only. If we can get things in order within 3 months, that'll be good. But people will be still be skeptical of their safety from the virus wherever people are going to converge. All right, and therefore this also involves our engagement with SIA surveys and the FGDs especially. We'll talk about that. And will social distancing continue? We have been hearing from the other two presenters. Yes, it's likely to continue, but for how long? It's a question mark. So underlying studies must still be carried out. EIA, EIA, TIA, all the IAs are there, including SIA. Will the government impose a moratorium on field studies in the short term? I doubt it. I really doubt it. But because as Dr. Bala mentioned, this will affect the economy, and we need to jumpstart the economy, and some of these studies are going to help move that economy in that sense. Will project proponents or clients be willing to wait? This is another question, because when the government does it, it's an order, everybody has to follow. But when it comes to the MCO is over, I don't think project proponents are willing to wait, even if the consultants are going to tell them we are in trouble. That's a question mark, yeah, because they are there for money, and every day is money for them. So what about the concerns of the communities when we are going to meet? Security. Security is already a problem, yeah. Security is already a problem, and we go, especially those people who are on the ground, when we are doing the field surveys, they always come back and tell us the house owners, they send out the dogs and all those things to chase us off. And why? Because they also don't want any security problems. They don't want to be cheated or robbed, etc. Those kind of stuffs. And we have now additional reason, which is safety and health, arising from this virus. Now, if we look at this, is what used to be. I'll show you one diagram, one photo later. I only have about 4 slides here. You can have with me. I'll come back to this. Now, SIA report, we have heard a lot about EIA just now, so let's bear a little bit on, carry a little bit weight on SIA. It's also almost equivalent. But some elements of EIA is not covered, will not be covered, therefore it's slightly lighter. SIA report cannot be done just through a desktop study. It used to be done this way. We have come across a few studies like that. Obviously, it will be rejected. SIA report requires both secondary data, more so of, and also primary data. Despite having both sources of data, secondary and primary, the emphasis is very much on primary. But primary data, especially when it comes to sampling, why this size, sampling size and sample size and all that, it goes back to the baseline data of the population where the development is taking place. So secondary data is also important. And triangulation of data is looked at is important by the authorities and the manual, SIA manual. Triangulation here refers to looking at the same thing by different, but having different methods to arrive at the same. For example, you may have, we may have questionnaires, we can have interview sessions, FGDs, all perhaps pointing to the same results. Okay, maybe we will not have the luxury of having all forms. Okay, then coming back to the secondary data, I don't think we are interested to look into secondary data issue now, because I don't think it's a big issue. We can still manage it, as we have seen from the previous speakers. We have heard from them, but I would like to focus on the primary data for SIA. We can also do observation. There will be limitations on movements, but as we experience now, we can also perhaps can go down on the ground and make observations, have more photographs to justify. Two, questionnaire survey, we are very used to with the situation where urban communities, where most development is taking place, are not usually cooperative with calls for engagement. We have gone through lots of experiences on this, yeah. Security is already a concern. Safety and health may be a concern in the next 3 to 6 months, as I have mentioned before. I'm going to go through one by one like this. Yeah? There will be more refusals to participate. You want it or not, before itself, some of our enumerators, even us, when we go down to the ground, we try to entice them, encourage them to participate, despite them saying, I don't want, they have no time and all those things. Now, there will be additional reasons for them to say no. Now, more people might ask on the ground, what is it what is there in store for me? We have also experienced, am I getting money? Am I getting any gifts? That kind of things. So it goes back to, if we agree on that, there will be the increase in cost. Then we have enumerators may not be easy to come by before. The companies which have got their own employees to do fill engagements, they may not face this problem, but many other companies that are doing SIAs, they normally employ part-time or professional enumerators. They may not come by, but professional enumerators now may charge more. Sample size is critical. Yeah, that's important, as what we have discussed before. If it is less, of course, there can be, if there's a section that explains why or justifies why the sample is lower or smaller than the usual. Now, can there be alternate ways? Now, I have been thinking about this. Actually, we have been doing this field surveys on the ground by knocking at people's house and all those things at the gates. You can see the photographs there. And why not we go through community leaders and key informants such as the Rukun Tetanggas, MPKKs, which is the Majlis Perwakilan Penduduk, resident associations, and through them we can get through to them, to the targeted groups, if we are not allowed to meet very close. And through this method, we may be able to make mobile calls, and some could also be done online if we have the contact numbers and with appropriate target groups. If you still have the online methods with the people who cannot use the online methods. Sorry again, all the hitches I went through. It's first time also for me to use Google Meets. I'm very used to with Zoom. Anyway, snowball method may be employed. Now, when I say this, the alternative ways, if we go through the community leaders and key informants, there can most likely we will not end up with the random sampling. It may end up becomes a non-random or non-probability sampling, but as long as this can be justified during our difficult time. Now, interviews, I think safety and health issues still the same problem, not likely a major hurdles, because interviews we always have, we call it case interviews or personal interviews, interviewing 2 or 3 people with us. I think this can be managed through telephone, online. So interviews will not be a problem. But major problem is when we have been hearing from this morning, the other two speakers also, we talk about focus group discussions. Most focus group discussions are basically to assess the awareness levels and impact of proposed development on communities. Having said this, usually we engage between 5 to 12 people, slightly more is allowed, but with the concept of some form of homogeneity in the selection of people. Now, well, can this be done? Can this be met is a question mark. Will they now attend such engagement sessions is a question mark again. On your right, you can see safety and health issues still will become a problem, but easier to organize for institution and associations. I think Girish also related to this, something like this before, earlier in his remark. They might not be cooperative and may ask for deferment to a later date. In my opinion, after the MCO is lifted, perhaps we can delay the FGDs first while the public gains some confidence in this, that we can meet people and that kind of stuff. So eventually, even in my own experience, we can't jump into engaging with the public through FGDs immediately for any study. It's a lot of engagement, a lot of communications, a lot of groundworks are being done before we actually conduct the what do you call the FGDs. Now, I suggest that we can carry out one-to-one surveys first in whatever method I have mentioned earlier. And question again arises whether social distancing will continue, for how long is a question mark. And I believe, for one, we can forget about public dialogues, workshops, public forums, at least for now, because this involves a lot of people. We have to restrict. We may look at, you see the photograph here indicates the distance. Yeah, this really happened, but this was very much before. So I just picked up this photograph to say this is at least about 1.5 meters away between the two parties. And we may engage this way. And how to overcome? We may delay the FGDs to be later, have the field surveys to be done, if we can do it this way or through online questions, online video calls or something like that. Conduct in larger room with participants spaced apart. I'll show you one photograph later. This morning, the Star newspaper has shown one whole page, front page, showing Sabah Government Assembly. We are not talking about assembly, but as an example, where they even already implemented that. Yeah, but all of them are not wearing masks. That's something very worries for me. Yeah? May not be able to use online platforms, as this depends on the population hierarchy. People at the lower rank may not be able to use all the online platform like what we are doing now, as well as with the Zoom and others. Yeah, we may want to consider replacing and for a short period of time, providing Plan Malaysia or other agencies related, allow this for a short period of time, emphasize more on surveys and social distancing. We can use mobile calls or online surveys or platforms and other observation methods. Yeah, a quick one, I feel panel reviews, have it done through online platform completely, rather than some of them in the meeting room. Maybe that's the agency direct, like Plan Malaysia can do it, but they can always have it done with the online platform, with consultants, with the panel. It will be a lot of advantages. It avoids a lot of need to travel, saves a lot of cost to all parties. And in fact, we can even have it more frequent. I forgot to mention, yeah, the panel review is already, I think, from I'm involved, and one of the studies have already been, the panel has been requested to submit quickly, and they're going to do it online. Okay, and summary in sum, very likely to face hurdles. We are going to face hurdles, definitely. We are aware. Most FGDs are quite unlikely to be conducted unless we are willing to pay for the attendance. In my own experience, we don't pay people for the attendance, but we compensate by providing some snacks and all those things. We also have experience before in other studies that say, okay, if we attend, how much are you going to pay? We may want to entertain this in this short period of time, but some, including myself, I will call it quite unethical, because the future studies will, any other future studies that comes after that will suffer, because if the same participant attends, they might ask what's the same. And social distancing is performed at sessions. It can be done, actually. So otherwise, we may attempt to have more case interviews with social distancing and rely on field surveys and have more methods than one in conducting the field surveys. I would like to end with this. Every crisis, therefore, like Shikin also mentioned, every crisis provides opportunities to change, adapt, innovate, and to move on, including the use of online methods, and also working from home was something like a taboo before. Now we are forced to, and we are more than willing to accept. Well, with that, I would like to say thank you. And this is what I mentioned just now. Also, with this last slide, I just post some things. This also may change the scenario that we are facing now, whether virus will die off, the virus will die off, whether a cure is found in very the shortest period of time, and if vaccine is already found, let's say by tomorrow, I think we may have solved the problem, perhaps for temporarily. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Koppu. You can stop sharing your screen.
Okay, stop sharing. Okay, yes. And I'll put my...
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you. You highlighted many things. Particularly, your main point was having human contact will be very challenging, and you also say that conducting FGDs over the next maybe 2 or 3 months is going to be almost impossible, right? So,
yes.
If you were to do an SIA, let's say starting from 1st of May, can you do it, or you'll have difficulty?
Okay, I think in my experience, the projects are always involving, giving us, say, 3 to 4 months. I hardly get a project that gives me SIA project for 6 months. Hardly yet. So normally you get that kind of trouble. So the first month is always in planning and getting baseline data and all those things. Second month, I normally will do the, what do you call, the field surveys. And sometimes later part of it, of the second month, I normally will do, start with my FGDs. And in current situation, I will have to push my FGDs later to third month and try to complete things in order. That's what I can think of, with the hope that things will come back to almost normal in 3 months or so.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Dr. Alias. As you are aware, Plan Malaysia has started asking feedback online for some of the projects, which is very good because it shortens the review period. But Dr. Alias,
Lost you, Dr. Bala.
okay. There's a question from Plan Malaysia.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, Dr.
Can you respond to the question?
Dr. Alias has raised this thing. Any idea of to speed up the process of making decision for SIA report? We don't have to wait. Actually, what is being done is we don't have to wait. We can always do it online and give the panel some time, quick time, and they can always be done and submitted to. Remarks can be submitted to the Plan Malaysia, and you can react from there and have online sessions, whether Zoom. I think I heard government agencies are not allowed to use Zoom or any other platforms that is possible. I think can be done. We can speed up. We agree that physical FGD is one of the methods of gathering data. Perunding SIA can exercise other methods as it meets the reliability. Yes, I have already mentioned that. Yeah, we can always have whatever FGDs, maybe yes, maybe no, can reduce the number. Perhaps we will, but put the weight more on surveys, one-to-one, and some of the methods I've already mentioned before. And I believe there's no hard and fast rule that we must use all forms of methods. Yeah, observation is already there, field survey is there, perhaps with difficulty, but if we can do an FGD, it's good because you get the qualitative answers coming from there. That's the advantage.
Okay, and you also think it's not a problem to conduct presentations online for the review process?
I don't think that will be a problem, Dr. Bala. We have come through this kind of to this level. It can be done. It can be done, and all it needs, like point Raja Nurashikin said, is that we need to train. We need to train. As long as some form of training, technical hitches like what I went through just now is still there, will still be there. It can be done. And like what Dato says, we don't need so many people to be attending online and the physical meeting, and the rest can go online. In fact, my proposal is to go online fully for the review panel meetings.
I'm sorry. Is Dr. Susan Pudin still here? Dr. Susan Pudin?
Hi, Dr. Bala, I'm here. Sorry,
Yes.
I have responded actually in the chat room.
Okay.
So basically,
yeah,
we have similar challenges with DOE in Sabah, and submission. We are thinking of submission of EIA done through email, and hard copy to be submitted later on. And we're also thinking about having meetings through video conferencing with the technical members, while the consultants and EPD could be in the same room, but of course practicing social distancing. And we are also, like what Dato Halimah has said, to put in place safeguards according to SOP prepared by MKN later on. I'm sure there will be a more detailed SOP by MKN. And we are also actually responding to queries even now from the consultants. So yeah, so that's one of the things we are doing now during MCO. Thank you, Dr. Bala.
Okay, Susan, just a question. So you foresee that in coming weeks you might also allow presentations via video conferencing?
Yes, Dr. Bala, we are thinking about that. We just had our departmental meeting yesterday, and we are looking at ways on how we can process our EIA reports and submission, and also payments and so on.
Okay. Okay. Earlier, Tanya had a question to ask. Tanya, you're still there?
Yeah, sorry, I keep getting kicked out. I didn't really have a question. It was more a comment on that this is the opportunity for the consultants, you know, to, I think Ashikin commented on looking for opportunities. So it's an opportunity for us to focus on key issues and maybe have the quality should of course still be the same, like Dato Halimah said, the quality has to be there, but you know, it's more tailored to project, tailored to site in terms of, you know, the detail of the assessment, but also the review panel, the agencies involved and who we have to consult with and so on.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
We had Lee Hollock.
Hi, yes, Dr. Bala.
You had a comment?
Yeah, just a comment, not so much a question, but a comment and suggestion on how to speed up SIA review. It's actually something that we could do regardless of this COVID-19 to conduct SIA reviews on project by project basis, similar to how DOE does it for EIAs, instead of waiting for a big SIA review meeting once every 2 months or so that reviews are conducted as and when projects are SIAs are submitted. That could speed up on a project by project basis. Something we could do regardless of the COVID, or something moving forward using this COVID as a stimulus to adopt this different approach. It's not the current approach is wrong, it's just a different approach. Use an EIA approach for the SIA. That's my suggestion.
Okay. Thank you, Lee. I believe maybe Dr. Kuppu, maybe open the questions to all the three speakers now. Yeah, I noticed that in the audience there are some people from the big, large infrastructure projects. There's some people from MyHSR, from MRT Corp, from some of the highway concessionaires are all here. Do you have any questions? From MyHSR, you are here, right? Or Yusuf from MRT Corp, do you have any questions? Okay, what I'll do is, we have already coming close to 11:40 now. I'm going to ask all the three speakers to wrap up, maybe just 2 minutes each, to highlight your key points and maybe just highlight the way forward. Let's start with Shikin. Just 2 minutes, Shikin.
Okay, Dr. Bala, thank you. To wrap it up, okay, in terms of my views is that first and foremost is that things have changed, okay? Like what Dato Halimah says, it's no longer business as usual. And I think this poses a challenge to each one of us, okay? Because for all the agencies, okay, to adapt to this, but more importantly, each of us individual, right? We need to start adapting to this new way of doing things. And at this moment in time, where this is during the transition period, is actually the time for us to think of the best way that we can move forward. Things still have to continue. Yeah, but hardship, I guess, in any hardship, it makes us a better person. So in terms of for the ERA, okay, we need to innovate in terms of how are we going to do the engagements, in terms of the meetings, and more importantly, I think in the chat room is the technology for us to have all these virtual meetings and all that, the infrastructure, yeah, and I think the skills are also required in terms of training. So I think we need to change consciously, we have to do it, and the technology to support us. So we have to strive, okay, to make things happen. But just remember is that we have to do this together, not just the consultant or the project proponent, but everybody to make it happen. That's it from me. Dr. Bala?
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Shikin. I think you mentioned technology being key. Can I ask Dato Halimah to summarize the point?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bala. I really much to add, but agree with most of the things being said. Important, of course, we have to get used to doing things in a different way. What is important just now, like what I think some question Jamil, I think, that the digital or internet technology has to get through to everybody, almost everybody in the country. That way, it can e-conferences, videos, digital, using the internet can be more efficient and reach a wider people. So the or the authority responsible for the internet infrastructure or the multimedia infrastructure have to really put up the infrastructure that reaches almost everybody in Malaysia. And another thing is that while maintaining the quality of the report, the study, because it's important, the objectives of the either EIA or SIA, but things got to be done fast. The agencies responsible really got to facilitate and spur and the economy without compromising environmental regulation, public health and safety. That is most important. And whatever way it can be done without compromising the virus or the COVID-19 or getting the numbers up again, whatever it needs to be done, it has to be done. So we have to observe the three C's, avoid confined spaces, avoid crowded places, avoid close contact. So we have to make to get our way around that and get the best of things and go forward from here. Thank you, Dr. Bala, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Halimah. Dr. Kupu, would you like to summarize?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Quickly, I would like to just say that first thing, we need to emphasize, I think our experience with Plan Malaysia also shows that they are increasingly looking out for better and better quality every time. And I think that must be retained. That shouldn't be compromised. And SIA, just like in EIA as well. Two, I would like to say that we must look out for other methods, such as case interviews, have it more. Case interviews, for example, we can always have telephone conversations if you don't want to meet them. If there's opportunity to meet, then keep a distance. Field surveys can be done if it's possible. And I want to share with you all one experience we did recently. We did case interviews, and later we also managed to get the contact numbers of RAs and RTs and MPKKs. I won't mention where, just from the local authorities. Based on that, then that is what I meant by the informants. Go through them, and then through them, we send out the online questionnaire links by WhatsApp, and they then will disseminate. They normally have their own groups. Then we disseminate to them, and we get back our response. That provided they are helpful, yeah. So that can be an approach, and we have successfully done it. That there's only one problem. You must find out where the response is coming from. If it is coming from outside your boundaries that you have of your study, then you need to discard that response. That is one or two questions or variables that we need to add in. And lastly, we can also conduct FGDs if it is allowed, if it is possible, if people are willing, but under social distancing, that is very likely to happen. And as I mentioned, panel reviews, if the agencies concerned are willing, and if they are allowed, we should have it all done online. Not only for this short period of time, perhaps a long time to come. We have to change the way we do things. I think that's what I wanted to say and convey. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, thank you, Dr. I think we have come to the end of the forum. It's almost going to be 12 now. I think we have heard 3 speakers and we heard any comments from the participants. I think there are several key issues for me to just rephrase and to highlight again. The first point is the post-MCO era will pose challenges, particularly in terms of social distancing, meaning large gatherings might not be possible. That poses problem to EIA, SIA, and many other types of work. Having said that, and I think all of us will agree that the quality of work cannot be compromised. I think the need to protect environment, the need to protect society will always be there. And we can agree that maintaining quality of work is also crucial. So this then calls upon all of us to start thinking, cracking our head, how best we can use technology to overcome some of these challenges. In fact, this forum is an example of technology helping us to meet and talk. So technology can help us overcome some of the challenges, not all. Like I said, meeting can be held online, EIA or SIA review can be done online. So this technology will help us. And of course, we need to take note that technology is available to everyone. If you go to kawasan kampung, rural areas, technology is not readily available. So we have to bear that in mind. The internet penetration in many of the rural areas is 60 to 70%. So a big chunk of population have either no internet connection or very unreliable internet connection. So these are all challenges. Having said all this, I think we all, as not only the government, but all of us have a responsibility to make sure the country stays safe, the economy can start moving again, and the quality of environment as well as societies is protected. Before I end, I just like to apologize because everybody is experimenting with technology. Even we are also not very familiar with how some of these things meet. If some people got locked up for the meeting, my apologies. But to overcome that, we also have been live streaming this forum on YouTube. So I believe many people are watching it live on YouTube. So hopefully in the coming forums, we should be able to master the technology. I just want to highlight here that we are planning a few other forums in the coming weeks. Everybody is welcome to join. So we thought since everybody is at home, people have time to join and contribute. So our next forum is this one. Let me just show you. So our next forum tentatively next week, you'll get the email. We are going to discuss the national policy on environment. Our current policy is almost 20 years old. So we like to see how, when the new policy is developed, how can we do it better? Because the issues are very different now. We have issues like climate change, biosafety, emerging pollutants, transboundary contaminants, environment and trade, pandemics. These are all current issues which we need to address. So this is the next forum. You should get your invitation sometime next week. Yeah, so if you are interested, just let us know and we'll give you the link. And hopefully by then we would have solved some of the technical glitches that we are having. Once again, thanks everyone and have a good day. Thank you.
Dr. Bala, thank you everyone.